Sometimes a bit of clear plastic is just what the doctor ordered. I mean, were it not for plastic, you'd have a few more brothers and sisters that look weirdly similar to me. But in this instance, we're talking about the Cooler Master MB540. I saw this at a really low price, about £45, so I pounced on it. I had a few remaining parts sitting around the studio that I wanted to use up, so I thought this would be the perfect case because it came in really cheap and it looked pretty big. Well, perfect, it was not. And you'll see why this case really annoyed me. And it's not because it's really bad, because the case itself isn't really awful, but there's lots of wasted potential and some other products that you should probably buy instead. So you're going to have to stick around to see all of that. And we're going to get to the PC build itself in a second, but first let's actually check out what's going on inside the case. So we've got a glass side panel here, comes off with a rear screw and then you sort of pop it off, you pull it off upwards. The back panel, kind of a similar thing, couple of screws, lift the steel panel off. In the rear chamber we have the screws and front panel stuff in this plastic bag. There's USB 3, USB-C, audio and front panel, standard stuff. There's also an ARGB internal hub that links up to an LED button on the top of the case. That's there in case your motherboard doesn't have a 3-pin header. You can take the ARGB plug straight out of that if you want, and that's what I did so I could hook it up to the motherboard. Along the bottom here there's a standard PSU mount with a front cutout and a 2-slot hard drive cage. These are the kind that pull open a bit and then you just click the hard drive in. The sleds can also take 2.5-inch drives on the bottom, and if you're really desperate you can double stack 2.5-inch and 3.5-inch drives. The other place to put 2.5-inch drives is on the side here. You just put in the little rubber bungs and then the thin screws onto the SSD and then you just push the SSD on. So that means you could have 2 3.5-inch drives and 4 2.5-inch drives simultaneously in the case, which is more than pretty much anyone is ever going to need. There's more than enough space for cable management here, with good depth and plenty of simple tie-down points. There's nothing elaborate here, and I think that's a good thing. I don't like overcomplicated cable management. Now, round to the presentation side. In the back, there's a 120mm ARGB fan included. It's a very spacious case, so you can fit in any current gen graphics card very easily, and it's deep enough for even the largest tower air coolers. You can go for all sizes of motherboard up to and including ATX. Some eATX motherboards might fit, but the eATX spec isn't very specific, so I wouldn't take it for granted. The PSU shroud is perforated along the top, so if the PC is going down on carpet, you could mount the PSU fan side up and it won't choke out the fan blades. The top piece of the case could be taken out, which makes it really easy to install 360mm liquid coolers. The top can take 240 and 360mm coolers with ease, or the equivalent fans, and you can actually put 140s up here as well, although I don't think a 420mm liquid cooler would be supported. It would just be a little bit too big. The front piece is made of plastic and has these fancy RGB lines inside of it, which we'll show off later, and it just simply pulls off from the bottom. The front of the case can take up to 3 120mm fans, but there's none included. Now for the build, but instead of a montage, I'm going to mix it up a bit. I'm going to talk through the build as we go, and we're going to review as we go. It's a budget RTX 4060 build, so let's hit it. So the front of the case needed some fans, so I went with these Thermalright C12C because they're the best price to performance ARGB fans out there at the moment. About £18 for this triple pack, which I think is amazing value. They were very easy to install. You always want to put your case fans in before anything else because it makes them easier to screw in place. You don't have to dodge your screwdriver around other parts in your build. Next, I'll put in the power supply, MSI A650BN. I chose this because it was fairly cheap, had enough watts, and it's decent quality, which is all you need in the more budget-friendly segment. It's not modular, but that really doesn't matter. It slid in really easily with no problems. I put it fan side down, but like we said earlier, you could equally put these fan side up, which is especially handy if you're going to be leaving the PC on carpet. I like to pre-route the CPU cable into the top corner, which makes it a bit easier to plug in later. Then I'm going to put the I/O shield in the back of the case so that I don't forget, and this comes with the motherboard. But speaking of which, the motherboard is a great value MSI B760p Wi-Fi DDR4 version. Low price and plenty for the CPU that we're going to use. I quite like having Wi-Fi on board just in case my Ethernet breaks. It also gives you Bluetooth as well. Now for assembling the board, the first thing I always put on is the M2 SSD. I like to use the lower and mid slots first, because if you want to upgrade in future and add more drives, it leaves that top slot free, which is easier to get to. You won't have to take out your graphics card, you see. It's a cheap drive, the Kingston NV2, with kind of meh speeds, not the best. I've used it because I have one in stock that I just need to use up, but you guys, you can do better if you're building it yourself. Get something with a DRAM cache, or at least HMB. See our SSD explained video for more info on that, link down in the description. But for this PC, this SSD is going to be fine. Next, I'm going to put in our DDR4 RAM, 32 gigs of 3600 speed CL18 Corsair RGB Pro. On screen there are RS sticks, but they get replaced later because they were faulty, but it's no big deal. Just clicks in the top and the bottom into slots 2 and 4 and you're good to go. CPU next, open up the socket and place in the i5 12400F. It's the last 12400F that I've got, and I got it at a really good price as well from a distributor. It's a good partner for the RTX 4060 that we've got coming up later, and you could feasibly upgrade to an i5 14600K down the line for more speed. You could put an i7 in here as well, and I think it would run just about fine, especially with the cooler that we've got. Now, this is the cooler, and you're going to think I've gone mad, and you're probably right. 360mm Thermalright Prism. Now honestly, a gentle breeze could cool the 12400F, so why go with a 360mm cooler? It's simple. I had it in stock and I needed to get rid of it. Nothing wrong with it, I've just got no projects coming up that need this kind of cooler. So on it goes. Do I recommend a 360mm cooler for this setup? No, save your money. If you wanted liquid, you could do a 240mm, get the cheapest one you could find, or you could even just get a tower air cooler and that's going to be absolutely fine. Or you can find those really cheap, under £20 nowadays. Now to put the motherboard in the case, just lower the board inside, line up the holes with the standoffs, take a second to ensure that there's no cables trapped underneath the motherboard and that the I/O shield is lined up properly, then just screw it down in place. It's easy enough, just like any other case. Then you want to plug in the CPU power cable, and because the top piece of this case is now off, I can get this really nice angle on the CPU power cable, which you don't really see in YouTube videos very much. So exclusive content here on Computer Surgeon. But don't worry about the other smaller power plug you can see on the screen here. It's not needed for this kind of CPU. I like to hook up as many of the fan cables at the top here as I can before mounting the liquid cooler into the case. It makes things a lot easier because you're not having to reach underneath that radiator, and there's plenty of room in this case to route those cables in an efficient way. Because the top piece is off, you can mount your cooler to the top piece before sliding it back on the top. Which is fine, I guess. I don't really find it that much easier or more difficult than just having the top piece already on there and pushing the radiator up and screwing in from the top. But I've got quite big hands, so maybe that helps. One advantage, I suppose, with this way is that you can more easily push the fan cables through the holes before putting the radiator up top. So I stand corrected, I guess. Who knows? Then just fasten the top panel screws again once you've slotted it back on. Now to the back, and we've got a bit of a viper's nest of cables to sort out, but all in good time. Let's feed the front panel cables through via the shortest route, as well as the motherboard power cable and graphics power cable. By putting all the cables through now, it avoids you having to keep spinning the case around to plug stuff in. Then you just plug your cables in because they're already routed through. I like to put the SATA cables in, even though I'm not using a SATA drive in this build. I think that makes it easier for my customers to upgrade in future, and it's just one of those little quality of life things that I like to do when I'm selling a system. Now, for everyone's favourite bit, the video card. So we've got an RTX 4060, cheapest model, Gigabyte WindForce, because what's the point of getting any other kind of model, right? It's a 4060. You could cool it by whispering sweet nothings into its ear. You're not going to gain anything by spending more on a posh version. Don't forget to take off all the plastic wrap, including that which is on the fan bearing covers. Then just line it up with a slot and push it home. The 4060 is a decent budget graphics card, and it will play the majority of what people want to play. That is, high quality 1080p games and 1440p if you turn the settings down a bit. Yes, it will struggle with Starfield and Cyberpunk, but think of those as exceptions. To provide the power, just gotta slot in that 8-pin cable and secure it in place. Now when I was doing this build, I added these white cable extensions because I had them laying around and wanted to put a bit of added value in there, but in truth, I don't think white is really the play here. If you do want to buy this system from me, because it is for sale, and you want a different color, just ask. I'm not going to charge you extra. You can just have purple and black or just have plain black, whatever. I'm not going to charge you more for changing it. All that's left to do is now hook up all the fans together in this daisy chaining fashion and tidy up the cables. It's always tough to get really neat cable management when you're using cable extensions because they're so big, but what we have here is perfectly functional and won't affect the experience whatsoever. In fact, going over the top with cable management is a real pain in the neck. If you want to go and change or upgrade anything later, you'll have to undo all that really tight cable management. So keep it functional, but not really awful, basically, is the lesson here. Now you can close it up by laying it down on its side and sliding the steel panel back on. Okay, so we're built up. Let's check out the final result. This build is not going to appeal to everyone, but it's certainly not the worst looking out there either. I think if you like this kind of RGB style at the front, you'll enjoy this build. There's plenty of RGB action going on the inside as well, and it is well put together. The white cables, I'm not so sure. I think it'll be a personal choice. For me, I'd change them to purple and black, or black and blue, something of that flavour. Now this PC, as I said, is for sale in the UK at PC36.co.uk. If you want the cables changed, like I said, we're going to do it without charging you any extra. So if you do want that, let us know. Just drop us a message before buying. And the price is really good. Basically selling this very close to cost price because we're using up lots of parts that we needed to get rid of. So we're not really making any money on it. So it's a good pickup for the spec. Now looks is one thing, but what about performance? Let's roll those benchmark numbers. Bog standard RTX 4060 performance, mega low temperatures as expected considering the level of hardware that we've got. 1440p gaming is pretty attainable now for most people. You don't need to spend heaps of cash to get a good experience. Now Warzone, Cyberpunk, other heavy games might be more challenging at 1440p, so for those maybe you want to stick with 1080p, but the performance is fairly decent for the price range. So how about that MB540 case? While I don't dig the look myself, it might be good for some of you. There's not much airflow up front, so for higher end builds, this might not be ideal. The build process was really easy. I mean, the shell of this case is basically the same as the TD500 mesh, also by Cooler Master, which I'm a huge fan of. And that's where I have to wonder, what really is the point of this MB540 case when the TD500 mesh already exists? The TD500 is legendary in my eyes, and it still holds up today as one of the best cases you can buy once you factor in looks, performance, ease of use and price all together. The TD500 goes for about £80 now, so really I just recommend to get that instead, because not only does it have an excellent mesh front, it also comes with 3 ARGB fans pre-installed in the front. So do I recommend the Cooler Master MB540 case? No, because the TD500 mesh exists and it's better in pretty much every way. And that's the last thing I'm going to say on the matter. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, subscribe, and until next time, I'll catch ya.